Mr. Gill, you may approach.
Take the stand.
All right, bailiff, go ahead.
Yo, what's up, Hugh?
Hey, tell him I didn't do it, okay? She sucked.
Yo, shut up.
I just almost sold
You're
your
just a
AK
hoe.
for $500,000.
Hey, that's what's up.
Okay, we've got the
Yeah.
defendant over here calling Miss
If
Brooke
I
a
do
hoe.
do it,
Hey,
I
we're
am so
gonna go
sorry.
overseas on it, okay?
our person
Easy
has been
peasy.
flipping him off and being just as rude to him, so maybe they should both stop.
I only flip him off when he's
Yeah.
calling me things like a whore.
No, I said hoe. She's a hoe. Passed around.
All right, Mr. Jackson.
She's like a doorknob. Everybody's had a turn.
Refrain from those comments, please.
I'll take a
We're
ride.
Contempt.
See?
You will
He'll
not.
take a ride.
You will.
No, I will.
No, you won't.
He'll let him.
Sir, could you
All
please
right,
not
can
shout?
we get some order?
I'll whisper.
Right.
Okay. And do any of you guys need food,
All
water?
right, Miss Dixon, go ahead and proceed.
Thank you.
Good to questions.
Wait. Whose witness is this? Oh, okay.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Gill.
Good evening, Mrs. Dixon.
Consider yourself an expert in firearms?
I would consider myself quite an expert with over 20 years of experience down here in the suburb of Grande, yes.
So you have an intimate understanding of guns and how they work?
Quite knowledgeable, yes, ma'am.
And you did an assessment on the gun that shot Shan Lee, is that correct?
I did indeed do such an assessment after this was opened, yes.
And you take the gun apart completely, and you investigate every single opponent down to every single tiny little screw, is that correct?
Well, I do proper examination, but to not alter any evidence of this court case, I had to do it very precautiously, but yes, everything was looked over very finely.
And you explain to me exactly what was wrong with that firearm?
Alright, so in my assessment of the firearm in question, there were two key things that allowed me to come to my, reasoning of what I believe happened. My first one being the sear screw, which, if you're not familiar, is a very crucial part of the trigger mechanism that allows the gun to be held by the hammer or the striker, with the pressure applied on the trigger, allowing it to be shot. This part specifically being the screw tightened very loose, which is a problem, allowing the trigger to be almost featherweight to be shot.
With that being set too loose, would you agree that it made the firearm extremely unstable and unsafe to be used?
In a given situation, from what I've seen, the gun could quite literally be tapped and it would go off, yes.
Oh, it could mean with one wrong move, the slightest, just like the drop, maybe a smack, could have set that gun off?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Next thing that you found, did you find an impact on the butt of it?
There was an impact mark on the butt, or as you might know, the handle of the firearm. This was clearly some scratches and indentation made on the bottom of the gun. And this was done after, according to Mr. Jackson, when he acquired it, there were no formal scratches, so this was done after the fact it was bought.
And did Mr. Jackson also indicate that the trigger was light on the gun, and he was educated by the seller that that was normal, and that's what he believed?
Well, without indicating why I was asking, as I came to understand, Brett Jackson was an individual not familiar with firearms. So I really had to get an idea of when I asked him if the trigger was light. He did explain to me that it was very easy to pull, which gave me something to look for in that direction as for the discharge being so easy.
You review the trajectory at which the bullet entered the body of Shanley.
I did indeed look into the trajectory, and based on what I know from my expertise, that is of when the bullet left the barrel of the gun must have been significantly below Mr. Shanley when it went off.
And it is in your expert opinion that it corroborates Brett Jackson's testimony that it hit the ground and discharged?
From what I would say, according to his corroboration, of course, it is, and I can't say with 100% certainty, but in my belief, it is seeming like the gun fell out of his hand and discharged when it hit the ground from what I've looked into about this gun, yes. But I cannot say that with 100% certainty.
But based off the trajectory, you find that possibility unlikely that he was holding the gun. Is that correct?
Very unlikely, yes.
Because of the sear screw being set to only 4 ounces, it smacking the ground and discharging was highly possible, correct?
This is indeed true.
So, in your expert opinion, the weight of the trigger was so light that if the butt of the firearm smacked the ground, that the gun went off and fired into Shanley.
After I interviewed Mr. Jackson and looked into it further, the gun that he had on the 1st of July, which discharged into the chest of Mr. Shanley, was an unsafe firearm and may have accidentally fired off. Yes.
At a significant level below him, would you consider at the belt line a significant level below him?
I would have to say it would be much lower.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Gill.
No problem.
Yeah.
Do you?
Your Honor, are you ready for me to cross? Are you there,
shit.
Judge?
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I had to use the, yeah.
Okay.
I did catch the tail end of that, though.
Okay.
Alright. True Shot, would you like to cross?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Gill, could you
Yes.
explain to me exactly how safe or unsafe said firearm was?
Well, as stated before, with the screw being as loose as it was, the gun was very unsafe and could cause accidental harm to others if prompted in the right way.
And in the case of accidental firing of a gun falling from somebody's hand to the ground, what are the incredible odds that the gun would discharge in the direction of the victim?
Well, ma'am, as I said from my experience out on the field with the guns, it is highly unlikely, which is why I said I can't 100% prove it. But to be honest, with the given information of where the gun would have to be for him to hold and shoot said gun at him directly, he would have either had to been very close to the ground or in a crouching position.
On page 42, I would like you to read your testimony starting from however and ending right before the second however.
You said page 42, correct?
Yes, sir. First paragraph.
However, I cannot say that with 100% certainty because it may be possible that Brett Jackson was just holding it low and at an angle upward. If that had been the case, then it would be possible for the ball to have entered Shanley at the trajectory it did. However, I find this
That was it. Thank you.
unlikely.
I'd like to rebut. Mr. Gill, let's read that full statement that the DA wanted you to leave out to mislead the jury.
The final part of the statement was, I find this possibility unlikely.
I find this possibility unlikely. Thank
Yes,
you.
but Mr. Gill, unlikely, but it's not improbable, correct?
I get to argue with my witness,
No,
Ms.
but
Trueshot.
in the given situation where this
That's
was
it. Your
explained,
testimony is
doesn't
over,
seem to
Mr.
be
Gill.
possible.
Thank you for your time.